So the other day I was talking to my kids about the technology they have today, particularly being able to use Amazon, eBay, all this really cool stuff with the internet. And I was talking about how when I was a kid, I remember the first purchase I made for my Nintendo. Now, people my age, sitting in their 40s to their 50s, we grew up playing home video games, Atari, Nintendo, Sega, and I love Nintendo. I never had anything. You know, we were poor, and my mom and dad decided one year to get me and my brothers a Nintendo. I think I was 11 years old at the time. I was in middle school. This is the greatest thing ever. I got a lot of different stories about the Nintendo, but what I do remember was that first game that I saved up money for and I was able to go buy. And when we did this, we didn't have online to be able to go to. The other thing is I live out in the middle of nowhere, very rural, and we didn't have anything really local to be able to go and get these games. So if we wanted a game, we had to drive an hour away, all right? And my parents weren't about to do that. So we had to utilize a catalog. Now for a lot of you folks, you know what it's like to order out of the catalog. The first time I ever ordered out of the catalog was to look for a game. And so we ended up getting into this catalog and we were looking at the selection of games. And of course back then, you didn't have 400 options. You had a handful. And when I got in there, I'm thinking maybe I'll see Super Mario Brothers or I'll see this or see it. And there wasn't anything like that. There was a handful of marginal titles. And I decided to break it down to 2 titles. And the title that I chose was a video game called The Adventures of Bayou Billy. All right. Now, looking at the cover, it looked awesome. I loved Crocodile Dundee during the 80s. I mean, who didn't love that movie? All right. And so I thought to myself, man, this would be awesome. All right. So I take my money, my $50-some, and I order it. Fill out the sheet and just send it in the mail. And you folks that remember the catalog, remember what it said on there. You have to wait 4 to 6 weeks for delivery. Unlike today, where when they say allow a week and a half for delivery and you get it in 2 days, all right? Back then, when they said 4 to 6 weeks, they meant 4 to 6 weeks. So now you had to wait. Patience was key. So here I am, I think I was 13, 14 at the time, and I'm waiting 4 to 6. Well, 4 weeks took us to summer vacation. And I grew up on a farm, so we spent a lot of time obviously outside baling hay, doing everything else. One day, I'm out across in the hayfield from my house baling hay, and I notice it's 2 o'clock. I'm looking while baling hay. I'm looking, I see the dirt trail, I see the blinking light, and I see it stop. Well, I have to stack a couple bales. I look back up, it's still there. It brought my package, Bayou Billy. So when we got done, we ended up going back down to the farm, took the wagons down there. My grandpa said, hey, go get a drink, then we'll start unloading. So here I am, little tubby fat kid, running up over this hay field so I can get to my house and get to the Adventures of Bayou Billy. And I get there, it's sitting on the stand, a package. And it's a package from the catalog company. And I open it up, The Adventures of Bayou Billy. Now I'm pumped. I tear into it. I go out to my Nintendo. I turn it on. I've waited almost 6 weeks, a month and a half for this amazing moment. And I turn it on, and this is what I get.
The Adventures of Bayou Billy.
You get to the gameplay. The gameplay is ungodly difficult. It's terribly difficult. Like, your first enemies, you have to punch 8 times to defeat them. And so, literally, I sat there for 45 minutes playing, and I couldn't get past the first screen. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is terrible. By the end of the evening, I was lucky if I beat the first level. And I'm not a terrible Nintendo player, but the game was so insanely difficult. Now, as years went on, my brother and I would work together. We actually picked certain stages and we got really good at them, and eventually we beat this game. But most people look at The Adventures of Bayou Billy as one of the biggest flops for what people expected. Everyone expected Paul Hogan running around, all right? That's what everyone expected. But instead, what they got was an insanely difficult video game. Now, on the flip side, the only thing that's more painful than that game was the fact that the other game that I was looking at the time. Again, this was about 93, 94, and there was another game in there. It looked really hokey and stupid. I just decided, no, I'm going with the super awesome Adventures of Bayou Billy. And so the game that I gave up on that could still be sitting in my collection right now was a game called The Adventures of Little Sampson. And of course, any of you guys that are gamers know that if you have the choice between The Adventures of Bayou Billy, you have the choice between Little Sampson, that decision today is really easy to make. When I look back on it, we all make mistakes when we're young. Some people experiment with drugs and alcohol. Some people play dangerous games that they shouldn't. Some people drive unsafely. One of the biggest mistakes I ever made, deciding that I really thought that Paul Hogan was going to be in that video game.